Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live.
Good health, everybody. I was gonna say good morning, but I'm trying not to say good morning. I'm learning to not say good morning. Good health, everyone. How are you doing? I have had a peaceful last couple of days. We didn't want to do a reading on Friday because I feel like other voices needed to be heard. So sometimes you just gotta give grace to the others. And yesterday, I actually spent way too much time with my elderly neighbors who I'm thinking about stopping that because although I love them dearly, I really do, I adore them. But one of my friends, Richard, is causing a problem amongst women, and I'm new in a group and I just don't want any problems. So I did explain to Marion what I believe happened, and then she understood it because Richard, who I love dearly, I love Richard, but he's a bit of a troublemaker. And so when Marion went on vacation, I've always spent my time with Marion. And so when Marion went on vacation, Richard snatched me up and he was like, hey, do you want to go here? Do you want to go there? That's what Marion would normally do with me. And of course, I was like, yeah, Richard, let's do this. And he had different things to show me than Marion would. And I don't mind that. Like, that's a great thing, right? To have like friendships with different types of interests, blah, 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 blah. Well, let me tell you something. I didn't know this. He was calling Marion once a week to let her know that me and Tracy, we're doing this, or we did this yesterday, blah, 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 blah. So I said to Marion, I think he did that to make you jealous. And she goes, I knew it, Tracy. I knew it. He was making me feel so bad. And I was like, yeah, don't make you feel that way, right? I was like, it's okay, Marion. Like, it's okay to have more than one friendship. Well, yesterday I was at my luncheon with all of the elderly ones. They call me the youngins. I go with them because, I like being called the youngins. And one of the women said, I don't share my man. And I was like, oh, really? And she looks at me and she goes, I am not talking about you. I understand that you're in close proximity and you cook. And I was like, uh-huh. She goes, I am not talking about you. But I am the type of woman, I don't share my man. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So the woman that said that wound up blowing up over some pothole issue, and nobody knew what she was blowing up about. I did, right? Because what do? I tapped in. When I looked over at Richard a couple of times, Richard was looking at me like he was going to devour a piece of steak. Now, Richard has looked at me this way before, right? And I always go, Richard, you're gay. Let's always remember that. You like Philippine boys, right? When I looked over at Richard, he was looking at me like devouring steak. But I chose to ignore him and continue with our conversations. Well, the other woman that said, I don't share no man, she noticed what Richard was doing and she got upset. First, she said, I don't share no man, although I didn't understand where that was coming from because I didn't see what Richard was doing. But then she wound up blowing up over potholes. And everybody was shocked. And I was like, oh God, this isn't about potholes, but okay. In any case, I came back to tell Marion what Richard had done. And she goes, oh, I can't believe Richard did that. And I was like, yes, Marion. I said, but to be honest with you, why do women get upset? Why are we like that? Why do we let men trigger us? This isn't about a gay man. This is about a man with a penis, period. And I said, Marion, but if I get the opportunity, I'll have a conversation with her. But this is what really happened. And Marion had heard about it. She wasn't there. Marion had already heard about it. And she was like, oh, Jasmine just blew up, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, that's not what happened. In any case, I still enjoy my company with them, right? And I want to enjoy my company with them. I don't want to be in the middle. And these people, by the way, they have been friends for 60 years. They're all in their 80s and 90s. Why are we at this space of jealousy? They've been friends for years. Not only am I the newbie, not even in their age bracket. Not only am I new to the island, they've been on the island for 50, 60 years. What is going on here? And I'm like, oh, Lord, these people. So I think what so then I said to Jasmine, I said, because I could see she was upset. And I said, she goes, do you want to go to something for $160 with a lot of food? And I was like, I'm not spending $160. What are you talking about? And she goes, it's for animal shelter. I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm not spending $160. I don't have disposable money, right? So then she goes, well, I'm volunteering. And I was like, volunteering? I'll volunteer. And she goes, the food is free when you buy. I'll volunteer. And that was with the one that was jealous. So now I'm just befriending the one that was jealous because I have to. I got to keep the peace, people. Oh my God. It's hilarious, these people. Old people are just as bad as 5-year-olds. I mean, they revert back to a nature you and I forgot about. But now that I'm around them, I'm like 5. You're all 5. Hi, Angela. How are you? Black coffee, no cream. How are you? Rhonda, how are you? Grand Rising Creative Soul. Marciel. Hello, Marciel Gonzalez. Hello, peeps. How's everyone doing? I just want to tell you that story. Of course, I'll repeat it tomorrow on camera. But oh my God, these old people, they're killing me. So last night I was in a reading, right? I was in a reading on Zoom. It was like 7 o'clock, and Miss Marion calls me. So I looked at the person on Zoom and I said, I really have to get this. And I said, hello, Miss Marion. She goes, I thought you were going to stop by. And I was like, oh my God, to myself. I was like, oh my God. I said, well, Miss Marion, I got home. I was tired. I stretched out on a sofa and fell asleep. When I woke up, it was time for me to go to work. Are you stopping by tonight? You know, I really want to say no, but I can't, right? So I said, yes, I could stop by. Give me about an hour, which would have been about 8 o'clock. As I'm talking to Miss Marion, my other neighbor comes in, and he has a problem with the neighbor. He goes, Tracy, I'm telling you, this is it. And I was like, oh my God, this is Alice in Wonderland, you people. I'm in the elderly version of Alice in Wonderland. Help. Help. All right, I'm over myself. I don't know why the fuck I'm here, but here's where God put me. It's supposed to be on St. Thomas. All right, guys. Thank you for listening to my elderly drama. I got to give it a better name than that. Because, oh, and by the way, none of them know what I do for a living. Zero. Zilch. None of them. I have refused to tell them. What they know is counseling. Beyond that, they don't know what I do for a living. So maybe if I just tell them, they'll ostracize me and it's a win-win. Maybe I should just tell them. And then they go, we don't hang out with psychics. And I'll be like, okay, bet. Perfect. Yes. Help. Okay. We are on the book Company of Prophets, African American psychic healers and visionaries. All right. And this is, I guess it's story time. I didn't really invest in a book, but it seems to be the research of Janice Elaine Noel and stories that she has gathered over the years. And we are at Children with Power. I'm on page 10, and I'll begin. More than once, when sickness kept him home from school, Lee himself being observed by the figure in front of his bed, gazing upon him with piercing and loving eyes, was a monk resembling St. Francis. Not frightened, the boy absorbed the love. He needed it. In his physical life, love was marked by inadequacy. He was a lone child raised by a mother who expressed her unknown guilt to him in anger and blows. Lee was an adult when he described his unhappy childhood to Ruth Montgomery, who wrote of him in Thresholds to Tomorrow. In the accounting, he spoke of his mother's physical and emotional abuse. She was protective, however, and provided well for his physical needs. 4 half-siblings older than he, whom he never saw during childhood. They were legally removed from her custody. She had abused them too. His father, who he saw on a few occasions, he never really got to know. To others, Lee was a likable child, bright and talented, self-taught musician who played the piano when he was 3. He no piano at home. That's what it says, guys. In a visit to the rest home when he was 12, or sound in it turning his head, he saw the elderly residents traction, and he loved them back. I don't know what that means. During the years of grammar and junior high school, the boy regularly visits rest homes and convalescent hospitals, even after he obtained his own piano. Ruth Montgomery's spirit guides called Lee a walk-in. Oh, we talked about this. Let me read it though. Walk-ins are idealistic but not perfect souls who through spiritual growth in previous incarnations have earned the right to take over unwanted bodies. If their overriding goal is to help mankind, the original occupants vacate the bodies because they no longer can maintain the physical spark of life, or because they are dispirited. They earnestly wish to live. Lee William Cornett Jr. changed his name to Count Cornett in adulthood. He contends he is not aware of that transition taking place, but being a walk-in explains to him much about that early period of life. After the revelation from Montgomery's guides, Cornett was told again that he was a walk-in by a discarnate named Dr. Kaleo. In direct voice channeled through Cornett himself, the being told of how the transition was made when Cornett was less than 10 years old. Dr. Kaleo's reading, as reported in Montgomery's book, It was one of the rare cases of a walk-in entering the body of a child, but it was necessary because the boy was on the verge of a nervous breakdown or suicide. A concert pianist, composer, and vocalist who performs intuitively, having no professional training, Count Cornett resides in Seattle, Washington, where he was born, performing traditional music and a type of music he describes as psychic. He tours the country giving recitals. From material in one of his recorded albums, the following quote is taken: I plan to work earnestly and faithfully as a worker of light, a blessing to those who would let music speak to them. My conviction is that the heavenly vibrations flowing through this music have the power to heal the sick, put an end to wars, and once again bring about peace and harmony to our planet. I'm going to look up psychic music real quick. Give me a second. Hmm. Hold on a second. Psychic. Oh, I wonder if I should look on YouTube. Although I can't play it if it's on YouTube because YouTube gets crazy. Psychic music. Has anybody ever heard of psychic music? Hmm. There's channels that say awaken your psychic abilities. I guess it might be the same thing. Awaken your psychic abilities. I think I'll take the time out to listen to it. Some of it is tarot reading 432, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let me look up this guy, Count Cornett. Psychic music, Count. I mean, he wasn't around during. Count Cornett plays psychic piano music from the masters. Oh, he's here, guys. I'm gonna mute you guys. I want to hear what he has to. I mean, it sounds very pretty, guys. I just put it in so if you want to listen to it. It sounds very pretty. There you have it. Count Cornett psychic music, very soft, very pretty piano minute music. I'm definitely going to listen to it later when we get off because I respect anybody in the psychic world, and this psychic music is definitely new to me. So feel free to look him up. Um, and let me see if there's anything else on him. He seems to have given himself a name, Count Cornett. Although when I hear Count Cornett, I really want to say Count Dracula. Plays psychic piano. Isn't that interesting? Psychic piano music from the masses, Cornett 12. Intuitive piano intros, introducing the inspired music of Count Cornett. This is so exciting, guys. I am so excited to discover this man. Explore music from Count Cornet shop. Um, the art of Count Cornet. Oh my God. I'll talk about him more next week, but he sounds like he's a fascinating man. He's from Seattle, Washington. Count Cornet on Facebook and Twitter. Is he still alive? No, can't tell. All right. Well, I'm excited to get to know his music, and I would encourage you all to consider, researching him. All right. Next story. The two children were playing Ring Around the Rosie when Louise saw them from her grandparents' veranda. They were about age 7 years old. The girls had pretty attire and white dresses with ruffles to the tail. The boy's outfit was white too. He wore a whole white suit with the white collared shirt. Louise still recalls vividly. Well, we already know they're dead, right? She saw they were really having a good time and she became excited at the thought of joining their game. But her grandmother, stepping out of the house at Louise's call for permission to play, responded with a gentle but firm no. Seating herself beside Louise, she drew close. The children are not real, the grandmother explained. She herself could not see them. She reminded her grandchildren that seeing in the world of the spirit was the young one's own special gift, like her other gift, which was to know of things beforehand. The two black children, clad in finery and seeming so full of happiness in their games on the adjacent cemetery green, were not the first discarnates Louise had seen, but they were certainly among the first to impact her so strongly. Long before she was 7, the spirit world opened to Louise. Her ability to predict had come earlier. Forerunner was a nickname given by her grandfather, who was proud of her ability. Louise Washington is a licensed minister and certified medium in the National Spiritualist Association of Churches. Her church, the Tucker Smith Memorial Spiritualist Church, is in Chicago. She grew up in Waterboro, South Carolina. Did you guys know that there are churches that specifically, and I'm talking about black churches, probably mixed with Spanish too, I mean, that teach purposely the spiritual world and magic and herbs and all that good stuff? They tend to wear white, everyone, and they wear white headdresses. You've actually seen them. You may not know what sector of religion that they belong to, but you've seen them. You've seen them, especially in New York City. All right. I don't know if I 100% give trust over to these churches because it seems to be very secular, um, very insulated, right? Very secretive, right? I knew someone's mother and son that was a part of one of these churches. It could be Santeria. Is that the description, Maricel? But there's also black folks that do the same thing as in the Santeria religion. Yes. I don't know if black folks call it Santeria, but very similar to Santeria, absolutely. Very similar. They might be called more spiritualist churches. Let me see something. Let me see if there's a spiritualist church in my town. Gotta learn things. Spiritualist church. Oh, look at this. La Cienega Spiritual Center, Center for Spiritual Living for Los Angeles, Spiritual Fellowship Church. See? Look there. United Spiritualist Church of Los Angeles. Uh-huh. Spiritualist Church of Revelation. So they're out there, guys. Give me the name of your city and I'll tell you where the closest one is. Best 7 spiritualist churches in Hollywood, California. 7. Damn, I wish I would have known they were there. I would have liked to visit them, not necessarily join them. First United Spiritual Church, St. Michael's Redeeming United Spiritual Church, um, Spiritual Church of Revelation, the Center for Spiritual Living in Los Angeles, Pico Shul. I don't know that one. All right. Temple Mejor de la Cantisemilla Muerte. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Isn't that interesting? I grew up in that religion. Did you? Oh, Maricel, so you know some things. Did they have herbs and stuff like that? Did they have bonfires and stuff like that? Father, Son, Holy Spirit, the unity of God. Mm, 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 mm. That's amazing. Did you find? Yes. See, I knew it. I knew it. Did you find that you felt safe in the church, Maricel? I need some water. Oh, that's what I meant to get some ice. Oh, I gotta. Interesting. Let me see. Barry National Spiritualist Church and Center. Mhm. What is a spiritual church? What are the services like? Yeah, I want to know that too. I think it depends on the individual spiritual church. There are many variations. Instead of a priest preaching, there were 2 to 3 mediums who spoke about contacting the spirits of deceased people. They would describe the spirit, its life, when it was incarnated, the convey message to living. A member of the congregation would then raise hand, and I know that's my relative, friend, acquaintance. There were hymns and prayers just in any other church. We had to pay an entrance fee to pay for the rent, which is typical. I came into church because I was in crisis, which is hard to explain here. It's okay. When I attended a church service, I felt safe and loved. It was a healing experience just to be, Scientology is a spiritual church. Hmm. Oh, I bet he said that to you. She says her godfather was in Santeria. He said, I had several period spirits as protection. Oh, I bet you did, child. Hmm. I believe you. I love that, Maricel. Thank you for sharing. All right. Oh, royal. What's royal? Add to that a little bit. Last night, lately, my dreams have been like vivid. And so last night, all these ghosts came to me and they were all in different sizes. It was weird. If I were to draw it, they were all silverish, roundish. I did not see their faces this time, and they kind of like blended together. and they were all bluish, silverish. And I looked at them, right? And I said, like, I knew them right away. This is what I'm learning with my most recent dreams. So I knew them right away, and I was like, oh, you're here. As I felt like they were there as a cover, like a blanket. So my dreams are becoming very, very vivid. And maybe I should start writing them down because I was told in 2024 our dreams will become vivid. So start looking forward to vivid dreams, guys. Okay, moving on. Next story. Hurt by a blow to his head in a schoolyard accident, 6-year-old Ron was transformed. Thereafter, he was subjected to small epileptic seizures. At first, the attacks came daily, but their frequency lessened as he grew into his teens. Affected, he went inward, became meditative, and a loner. But Flom opened the door to a new world. Scenes unfolded to him as if he were watching the television. At 13, in a vision, he saw the house he and his wife presently own. Initially, most of his visions were about himself, but gradually he began to see future information about family members. Almost immediately following the accident, his dreams changed. To the 6-year-old, to the 6-year-old, some of the contents of his new dreams were very strange. However, in time, many proved prophetic. Visible to him when he looked at the sky were Indian chiefs riding across its expanse. Their presence was somehow very reassuring to the boy. At the phase of the full moon, he watched the sky and saw images of the future. Later in life, he experienced predictions that were manifested. A prime target for bullies, Ron avoided them with sensibility. Though his body became a signal when a bully or danger was near, his hair stood on the back of his neck. There were further accelerations of his awareness after he again was knocked unconscious in an accident at age 12. He started experimenting with telepathy. He sent out thoughts of love and harmony. His parents became discordant with one another, wanting to keep the family together. He directed strong thoughts of love and reconciliation toward them. The relationship between his parents improved, as did their home life. Ron was 14 when he saw a Wolfman movie with a tarot card reader in it. I felt I was shown about the cards because they are a deep well to relate from. Shortly after seeing the movie, he joined a metaphysical book club and secured books on tarot. In libraries and bookstores, he determined what he should read by running his hands through the shelves of the books until he felt heat on his hands. The heat generating book was selected. With his mother, Ron shared freely his precognitions, and she told of some of her own psychic experiences. However, the child never told anyone when he foresaw death. He felt intuitively that it was not the right thing to do. At school, he learned from experience that if he spoke of his visions there, he would be taken to the nurse's office. In a reading, Ron was told he was an advanced and able psychic being and adept in a past life. But at the time, he had been overpowered by magicians of evil intent. Oh, that's interesting. Using his gifts, Ron relates how he found Sandra, his second wife and soulmate. who early in life became aware of her spiritual self. Together, they are raising their children, and Sandra's child from a previous marriage, to know themselves as spiritual beings. Both children are gifted. A resident of Los Angeles, Ron Bona, uses tarot cards to give consultation. He emphasizes in his teachings how people can change their lives and that obstacles can be overcome by human will. Um, did I skip it? What page, Angela? I could have skipped it by accident, but tell me what page. Um, Looking at Ron's story, the one thing that is stepping out here is knowing that he and his mother had visions. But the thing that steps out the most is how evil spirits came through first, right? Um, and to overpower the evil spirits. Did I miss something? Oh, I did. Wait. Oh, I totally missed it. Thank you, Angela. Um, with Ron's story, I find it interesting that evil spirits come through first, right? So I get a lot of clients that are having some difficulty because they have the gift, but what is prominent in their gift now, today, are evil voices, evil this, evil that. And so, one of the hardest things I'm constantly having to teach people is to overpower the evil voices, right? Now, some people do need meds because there's a fine line between having a psychological issue and being a metaphysical person. Some people straddle the fence. That means they come to the table with psychological issues already. Usually it means the worst type of childhood, right? Psychologically disgruntled behavior from people that treated you bad that you should have been safe with in your own home. These people begin to have psychic experiences early on, but their psychic experience turns into evil thoughts. More importantly, because there's nobody to talk to, right? That's why I like to talk about spirituality, spiritual experience, ghosts, and stuff like that, because it's really important to get comfortable with what you know, with what you're feeling, and to stop the evil influences that are out there. They're out there just as good as out there, but being strong enough to say, don't try it here. Don't try it here. I think I was talking to Ezra the other day, and he still has experiences, but they're not evil, right? And remember, I did that video. The minute he told me he was having experience, he's like, Mom, he's like, Grandma, I have to, he calls me Dory. Who am I kidding? I have to fight. He's 10. He's 10. And he goes, I have to like fight and be a warrior when I go to sleep at night. And he goes, I'm exhausted. And I said to him, you have to tell them you don't want to go sometimes. Like you have to say, I'm going to sleep tonight. Or you have to say, I'll fight you, but you have to bring me back early. I have to go to school the next day. And these are things that, given another period in time, right? Somebody else would have been like, "Shut up, boy, shut up! Don't talk that evil stuff." Blah 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 blah. I don't say that. I go, I validate him. I'm like, "Oh yeah, well, just let them know you can't be spending all night. You know, being a warrior with them, that you're still having a human experience and that you have to come back and get some sleep. So I just found that interesting. Let me see if I can find it one more time before I go to the one that I missed. Because he loved his beginning experiences. The other thing I want to point out is that he sent out thoughts of love and harmony to keep their family together. Now, I'm going to use that today. I'm going to do a video on Kate, and I'm going to use that today to send out loving, healing energies to Kate as a totality. I'm still concerned that the UK people aren't taking her disappearance seriously. And so maybe if they can't openly express their fear for not seeing Kate, maybe we can get the UK people to put out prayer. And when I say the UK, I mean the United Kingdom, not the Brits. People all over the world, let's put out loving impressions to Kate to heal and hopefully to fight back. All right. Hold on. All right. Moving on. Let's go back to page 13, the bottom of page 12. It was a regular thing that most of us kids would walk home to lunch, and there was always a train, boxcars, standing on the tracks near school. We crawl under it or over it to get to our houses for lunch, remembers Calistine Williams of being a fifth grader. On this particular day, I was puzzled at strong feelings that the train meant danger. I warned everybody I could not go near. Some of us did not go home at all for lunch. The feeling was so strong. Some of the kids were not convinced, though. The train began to move, and one boy was cut in two. Without self-doubt, Calistine acted on these intuitive messages of danger. Another incident involved a bridge, which she and the rest of her neighborhood children either crossed or played on every day. It spans a deep ditch where the water level would get high enough for some to drown. One morning, she mentioned the feeling began to bother her that there was danger. I went to the store in the neighborhood and got some white wrapping paper and penciled in, "Don't play on the bridge." I posted the sign. That evening, the bridge collapsed. No one was on it. But there were some dogs on it, and they ended up in the water. Forming within Calistine when she was but 6 was a sensitivity about people in houses. Emanating from people, she perceived an energy which clearly told her of her emotions and attitudes, of houses and geographical areas. She could sense whether they would be good places to which to live. At 10, hysterically, she told her mother and stepfather everything she felt. About the house they planned to buy. It would not be a good home or good investment, she advised, but they didn't listen. The house became a place of terrible family conflict once they moved in. Its function for the family unit was finally destroyed when Callistene's stepfather declared himself sole owner of it and evicted the rest of the family. Mostly burdened by her gift while growing up, the Mississippi-born psychic, who now lives in Memphis, Tennessee, says in those early years, she played the comedian to mask that she felt different. The girl's mother, perplexed by the young child's unusual perception, often questioned the validity of what was sensed. But from her grandmother, Calistine, receiving a strong, reassuring message, God is speaking to us through you. Guys, I remember when I was a kid, and we used to play in a company's sand dunes, right? I don't know how we did this, but we would go to the companies that supplied sand. Back in the day, they used to shut down at 4 or 5. I think it was like 4. And we would go play on them and on the weekends. They were never open on the weekends or Sundays or something. I don't remember. And we would challenge each other to go to the top of the sand dunes. I remember some of the sand was coarse, some of it was fine. I remember one day watching one of my other friends get to the top of the sand dune. He was so athletic, but a missed opportunity for his family because no one allowed him to have a vision of being an athletic. And he got to the top of the sand dunes, and I was about 10 years old. And I remember saying, or Spirit saying to me, you can't come back here anymore. You're gonna get swallowed up. Meaning I was gonna fall into the sand. And from a kid, of course, I don't know this is spirit, right? But from a kid, I just listened. I was like, got it. I hear you. I'll never be back in this company ever again. And I'm telling you, I never went back. I'm going to go to the restroom real quick, guys. Let me play some music. 77. Yes. Hi, everyone. All right. I hope you guys can hear me. Just let me check. Let me check. Let me check. Let me check. Mm-mm-mm, mm-mm-mm. Let me check. Let me check. Mic check. Let me check. Okay. All right. So now we're on page 15 because I had missed Callistine's story. Thank you, Angela. It's a good story to tell. Now I'm on page 15, and this is Delilah's story. When I was a little girl, I used to get death all the time. I asked God to take the gift from me. I never wanted to be a medium this lifetime. I never wanted to claim that kind of energy. That is the kind of energy that I initially drew when I would be on the Greyhound bus going to visit my father, especially on the turnpike. I would see people where there had been accidents. I see them walking and searching and looking. It was heavy. I realized after a while they weren't real. No one could see them except me. Delias Grayer's first awareness of her abilities came when she was around 5 years old. Until adulthood, she says her powers were productively used. Encouraged to talk freely about her spiritual perceptions and prophetic dreams, the child enjoyed a secure home. As the seventh female child in her family line to be a psychic, she was almost harmoniously situated. Though she protested over her perception of death and her view of afterlife states being the dominating quality in the emergence of her abilities, Delilah reminds us there was also a lighter side. I had a dream that my mother surprised me at Christmas with this suit I really wanted. She didn't put it under the tree until later on Christmas Day. And that happened in reality. In the dream, I wore the suit to school and a string was hanging down. I pulled the string of the of I pulled the string of the suit to school. I pulled the string and the suit fell apart. I totally forgot about the dream and wore the outfit to school. I was sitting in English class. I'll never forget it. I pulled the thread and the suit fell apart. I screamed, "Oh God," just like in a dream. With her gifted daughter, Bakara Oni, Delia Grayler now lives in Shaker Heights, Ohio. I'm going to continue on. The mother and the grandmother of Bakara Oni Lewis sat in numb silence. They had just learned that the child's great aunt, Gladys, had been rushed to the hospital and was in intensive care. Neither adult really noticed the little girl entering the room, but soon both were blown from solitude by the authority in the child's voice. That lady is so tired. She is so tired. Taken aback, the child's mother, Delilah, from the previous story, what lady? Mother, that they were cutting a hole in the lady right here. And the little girl pointed to her throat. Mommy, she breathes like this. The 2-year-old then did an imitation of a shrill pitch, labored breathing. Laying down on the floor, she built to shriller tones, and then became softer and less audible. Despite Delia Gray's abundant personal and professional familiarity with psychic phenomena, she could not control the panic she felt in watching her own daughter. As Delilah considered giving in to an impulse to leave the room, Bakara only commanded, Mommy, stand still, don't move. Listen to me. The child began singing a nursery rhyme, a favorite of Aunt Gladys. She stopped singing suddenly and said, Don't you see her flying up to the sky? The family learned that their relative died at approximately the time that Bakara only dramatized her ordeal, and that as part of the emergency treatment, the woman had undergone a tracheotomy. In early childhood, Bakara's talent was evident to view into and be inside spaces at a distance from her body. Her mother recalls one example of many, a time when they passed a house which her child remarked she had been in before, and that she knew what the house looked like. She described the room with a lot of people sitting around the table, drinking and playing cards. None of this was apparent from the closed up exterior. However, on the way back home, Delilah, the mother, saw the exact scene described by Bakara through a door which had been opened. During the same period before her 6th birthday, Bakara only had clear memory of a brief past life, the details of which she shared unaltered with her mother many times. She named her brothers and sisters then and described her toys. There had been a tragedy, a fire. Since infancy, Bakara Oni had often been a calming influence on her mother during stressful times. When in the child's presence, the parent feels her worries diminishing. Delilah receives her daughter now in middle childhood as being less free. There are reduced instances of astral travel and diminishing evidence of the spontaneous side of her gifts. But her ability to predict remains unchanged. She often informs of events that have been a trade. I'm sorry. They're often She often informs of events. There has been a trade, a surrendering of some psychic spontaneity and drama for deeper insights of a spiritual nature. Okay, I don't know why I couldn't get the last part out, but I do understand the last part. Be right back. Okay. When we are developing our psychic gifts, there are times when one psychic gift comes through and another one comes through and gets stronger. Your original psychic gift diminishes. That's what's called a psychic trade or a trade up. All right. I remember there was an instance where somebody wanted to teach, I don't know what it was, about, I don't even remember. Let's say they want to teach about numbers, assuming that I did not have the psychic gifts for numbers, but I did had training in numbers, but it wasn't my gift to latch onto or to even teach, that there are other people out there that would be good at teaching this particular psychic gift. But someone assumed that I didn't know anything about it. When you trade in or trade up, whether you're doing it on purpose or by accident, you don't forget your initial training that got you to your trade up. Everything always stays, but you don't have to remember everything. You don't have to participate in everything. You just have to make your particular gift that even as you got in trading up, as strong as it can be. Do not worry about knowing everything. That would be crazy for God, right? To help manage with you, right? Is there something else here? I do like the part of the premonition she would have in other people's houses. There was an instant here when I first moved here and we were in group, and Beautiful Conundrum says, and it was so funny because I focused on this bush every night. I used to keep my windows completely shut tight. I had so much fear in relocating, although you guys didn't know this, relocating here. And what came through every night from the light was the shape of this bush. Every night. I remember saying in the beginning, the bush felt protective to me. Like I could see a shape in a bush, but I'm not sure if that was true or whatever, right? And one day, Beautiful Conundrum was in group, and she goes, "Is there a bush in front of your house?" And I said, "Yes." And she cracked up laughing. She was like, "Oh my God, I knew it. I knew it. I could see the bush." I always meant to send her the picture of the bush, but I don't think I ever did. So I say that to say, Sky ventured into my house. She's like, "I'm inside your house and I'm looking at this bush." Funny thing is, I was looking at the bush as well every day. Now I don't put eyes on a bush anymore. But I just thought that was funny that she could come in and see the same thing that I was seeing. And she cracked herself up. She goes, "I knew it. I knew it. I see this bush as clear as day." It's so funny. It's nice to validate somebody else's gift too. Okay. And it's a, okay. Page 17. This is about Augusta. The woods behind Augusta's house was inhabited by a number of beings, not of the physical world, beings only visible to the child. Some discovered Indians seemingly in another dimension, whom she loved to watch as they gathered and cooked herbs. Interesting. They showed no concern in the least at the 5-year-old's encroachment on their camp. Soon admitted among them, the child was taught to hunt herbs and prepare remedies to be used in healing. Augusta retained this information on herbs. When she was a healer, at 18, she used it. Beings she later recognized as angels spent hours singing and playing with her. The divas gave her a present of 2 Chinese dolls in a swing. I'm sorry, guys. And the dolls delighted her, although they were only spirited world manifestations. On Christmas of that year, she was especially surprised by the gifts from her parents. The identical toys in real world substance. After she told her mother of the Indians, the angels, and the dolls, Augusta was shut off from the woods and strictly forbidden to go there again. See, that happens a lot. That's why people don't talk about what they see, because people want to shoot down your gifts instead of honoring them. When my son was like, Mom, I see things, and I'd be like, Oh, what do you see? He's like, Well, this person is wearing this type of outfit. He always saw people in period pieces. It looks like the top hat. I'm like, Well, draw it for me. Or back in the day, there was no such thing as Google and iPhones. I'd be like, Well, draw it for me. And so he would draw it the best way he could. And it was always period pieces, always. And thank God I had the foresight to not scare him, right? I just constantly encouraged it. Oh, so interesting. Next time it happens, let me know what else you see. I say that to say because a lot of these galactic kids are going to come through with gifts, guys. And they're very powerful little beings, these little galactic and pandemic kids. They're very sassy, they're very rebellious. They're not trying to organize the discipline that we might think they should be having. They don't have it in them. And so, because they are special children that are coming through, it would be in your best advantage to encourage the metaphysical world and magic. That might be the only calming thing for these kids. After she told her mother the Indians, the angels, the dolls, Augusta was shut off from the woods and strictly forbidden to go there again. The final sundering of Augusta from her woods in Slaughter, Mississippi, well, that's some name, huh? Came when her family moved to Stuttgart, Arkansas, before she was 6. Her companionship with beings of other dimensions ceased until she was 12. And that's also very common. When someone finally says to you, you release the energy. You don't want it because the living doesn't like it. It ceased until she was 12. At that age, more beings from the esoteric world came to counsel her, and the way she was gifted became more defined. Among the extra physical ways she perceived were by visions, prophetic dreams, and telepathy. Have you all ever had telepathy where you could literally tell what someone is thinking? I have telepathy a lot. Not that I use it for anything, but I can hear people talking, particularly in Zoom. I don't know why Zoom is so powerful for me, but boom, no one can hide their inner voice. Um, at 18, she began her spiritual work by preaching and using her gifts of healing and prophesying in her life's mission, that of helping people improve their lives. Born in Mississippi, Bishop Augusta Harris now lives in Little Rock, Arkansas, where she is a spiritual counselor and the founding pastor of Damascus Spiritual Church. Hmm. Let me go back. This is the psychic music. I can't wait to listen to the psychic music later. Also, guys, I'm going to be doing a reading on William and Kate. Just constantly feeling uncomfortable as to what realm Kate is in. Is she amongst the living still? Is she in a coma, which is another realm? Or is she not here? So listen out for that. And if anyone wants a reading with me, I am available today. So text me at 213-458-7408. Also, all of the horoscopes are up for February 2024, so take a look at them. And if there's anything you need to elaborate on, call me so we can focus just on your individual concern. Okay. All right. This is Zora. I do not know when the visions began. Certainly, I was not more than 7 years old, but I remember the first coming very distinctly, recalled Zora Neale Hurston in her autobiography, Dust Tracks on a Road. My brother Joel and I had made a hen take an egg back and been caught as we turned the hen loose. We knew we were in for it and decided to scatter until things cooled off a bit. There was some cool shade on the porch, so I sat down, and soon I was asleep in a strange way. Like clear-cut stereopticon slides, I saw 12 scenes flash before me, each one held until I had seen it well in every detail, and then be replaced by another. There was not continuity as in an average dream, just disconnected scene after scene with blank spaces in between. I knew they were all true, a preview of things to come, and my soul writhed in agony and shrunk away. But I knew there was no shrinking. These things had to be. I did not wake up when the last one flickered and vanished. I merely sat up. Oh, wow. Arising from the strange sleep, Zora was sobered. The carefree child of a short time ago was gone forever. I was weighted down with a power I did not want. I had knowledge before its time. I knew my fate. I knew that I would be an orphan and homeless. I knew that while I was still helpless, that the comforting circle of my family would be broken, and that I would have to wander cold and friendless until I had served my time. It's a very interesting phase, until I had served my time. Let's see if I can explain that to you guys. The visions returned at random periods to haunt her at night. They were unaltered in detail except for the last picture. Zora never told anyone about the revelation, fearing she would be laughed at and thought of as different. Born in Eatonville, Florida in 1901, Zora was 9 years old when her first vision came to pass. At the same time, she was one of the family's 8 children, was orphaned by her mother's death. Oh, how I cried out to be just as everybody else. But the voice said, no, I must go where I was sent. The weight of the commandment laid heavy and made me moody at times. I studied people all around me, searching for someone to fend it off, but I was told inside myself that there was no one. It gave me a feeling of terrible loneliness, aloneness. I stood in a world of vanished communion with my kind, which is worse than if it had never been. Time to prove the truth of my visions, for one by one they came to pass. As soon as one was fulfilled, it ceased to come. I don't understand the last part. However, I want to go back here. I would be an orphan and homeless. I knew that while I was still helpless, that the comforting circle of my family would be broken, and that I would have to wander cold and friendliness until I had served my time. I want to tell everyone that when you're spiritual and treated unfairly, right? It is a moment in time that needs to be serviced up, sacrificed. There's something about being unlike the others that feels awkward and weird. Like you feel weird, right? And it might help to know that get past this feeling of weirdness because it will pass. But part of the weirdness is service. It's your servitude to the spiritual world. Don't look at it as something negative or bad. Look at it as a time when God is asking you to learn from it, to deal with it, even if it means being ostracized by others. There's a lesson in people discounting your gifts. For me personally, I feel like if you can get past it, you'll be the most strongest soul out there. Because what you're learning in the beginning stages of knowing your gift, something major is coming. And when that major shows up, you won't cower and cry. You'll combat it. You'll fight it. And you won't care. Because if you're being developed a certain type of way, right? Getting back to the book where they go, I had served my time. Serving your time in the spiritual world can be the worst time ever experienced. There's nothing worse when people think you're weird. There's nothing worse when you see things, hear things, and you already know you can't tell your parents, right? You already know this. Some children get slapped, and others are told never go back in that field again, as if something bad would happen. I mean, your child is telling you that you're around ancestors, Indians that have passed on. She's calling them angels. How bad can this be? So when you deny the child their servitude, their service, we delay it because now she's got to go back into service regardless. Spirit now just waits until she's grown enough, until he's grown enough. But now we're an adult. Now we're really acting weird because we weren't able to act it out when we were younger. We get the gifts early so that we could have camaraderie, not to be ostracized from it. I hope I explained that well. I don't know if I did. Doing my best, guys. You know what's so funny? There's a Bible here. And when I said, I hope I explained that right, the page from the Bible, from the air coming in, moved and made a crumbling noise. So I have to take that as spirit telling me you did good. Oh my goodness. So our dreams are prophecies that needs to be fulfilled. Don't fear it. You're the one that receives the gift. Bless you if you have someone to share it with. Bless you. That would be my prayer for you. All right, moving on. William Edmondson had his first vision at 13 or 14 years old while working in a cornfield. This he described to his biographer, Edmund L. Fuller, for the book Visions in Stones. And we're getting a lot of books here. And I didn't document. It just dawned on me that she's mentioning all these books that also could help. Let me see some. I feel like Edward L. Fuller, I know, and that's why I'm like responding. Let me see. Visions in Stones by Edmund Fuller. Visions in Stones, the sculpture of William Edmondson. Oh, interesting. I just got to get a PDF on it. The sculpture of William Edmondson. Pittsburgh, a black sculptor from Nashville, Tennessee area, whose works reflected a primitive, highly folk quality. He was the first black artist to be given a one-man show at the Museum of Modern Art in 1937. If I could find the PDF, guys, I will offer it to you. Let me see something. PDF. I'm here, guys, just looking up Vision in Stone. You know, these books, they're all like $400. This is crazy. I want the PDF. All right. If I find the PDF, I'll share it next week. Got a lot of research to do. All right. Moving on. I saw in the East world. I saw in the West world. I saw the flood. I ain't never read no books, nor no Bible. And I saw the water come. It came over rocks, covered up the rocks, and went over mountains. God, he just showed me how. Born in Nashville, Tennessee, about 1883, William Edmondson was more than 50 years old when he began to sculpt in stone. His art is in the collections of museums and galleries around the country. All right. Let me see, what time is it? I think I'm going to stop here. Just X marks the spot. I'm going to stop here on page 19. Because it's a little long and I'm getting tired. And sometimes when I'm tired, my speech begins to get a little crumbled, muffled. So I'm going to stop here. The next story is going to be on Juliet Gatlin. All right, guys. Oh, boy. I don't know. It seems a little heavy, but most of these books seems heavy to me. And then I begin to love it later. But for right now, it seems a little heavy, and I'm going to be honest about my feelings. I hope that you guys are enjoying it anyway. And again, I'm available today, 213-458-7408, for any psychic readings that you guys would need. All right? Keep me posted. I love you guys. I'm going to end it right now. And come join me later when I do a reading on Prince William. I think I'm going to do it on Prince William more than Kate. All right, guys. I love you. Take it easy. Bye.
Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy